Hey everyone, today we have Pritesh, co founder and CEO of Juicy Chemistry, one of the most successful brands today here in India. And we have him over the weekend. It's Saturday, and having a founder readily available over the weekend is something that itself shows their dedication and trueness towards the business that they have built. So, welcome Pritesh to our podcast, The Metric Studio. This is the second podcast that we are doing. How are you?
Thanks so much, Sonakshi, for that introduction. Thank you so much. I think it at least to say that we are one of the most successful brands. I don't think so. I think we are still learning and growing. On an everyday basis. I think every day is a phenomenal learning experience for us. It's been 8 years since we've been creating this juicy chemistry. And we hope that we have a lot more in store for us. So thank you for that introduction. But happy to be here on the podcast. Saturday, no Saturday. It's all the same for the founders, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, Pritesh. So almost everyone would have heard somewhere or the other and might have used Juicy Chemistry's product. But you being a founder, we want to hear from you. Coming from you makes a lot different than what we hear from public. So, can you tell us more about the vision of Juicy Chemistry and why did you start the business?
Absolutely. So Sonakshi, Megha was suffering from PCOD, growing up. She's always had a troubled skin because of PCOD, and she was on medications for a long period of time. And obviously, at some point in time, that interfered with her hormonal structure as well, and that kept propping up every time she wanted to stop the pills or go away from that the construct that was given to her by her doctor. She felt that this was not a permanent solution for her, and she was always trying to look out for products that would help her with her skincare, with the regime. And she was always trying or leaning towards natural products, but obviously that was of no success to her in the long run as well. So we always were on the lookout for something which would help her with her condition, apart from the medicated products that she was using. And in one visit to the mall, somebody tried to sell us a natural Ayurvedic product, and that's when I stuck out of sheer boredom. Struck a conversation with the salesperson. I said, but I can identify artificial colors, fragrances, parabens, sulfates, petrochemicals, a lot of ingredients in the synthetic origin. Because of my petrochemical background with the family business, we were into manufacturing of industrial automotive lubricants. So we've dealt with a lot of petrochemicals on an everyday basis. We used to make additives as well. But obviously, the person was not aware of, he was just doing his job while he was trying to sell a product. When I looked at the back of the ingredients, it was a very different story than what was there on the front of the label, which was coconut, hibiscus, and neem. So I looked at Megha and I said, listen, this is what I think, of this product. And she just looked at me and shrugged it off and said, listen, this is what is available, right? I mean, where else do I go? But that actually stuck a chord into our mind, and that's when we started actually researching a little bit more on the ingredient story.
Got it. It was in which year? Sorry to interrupt you, Pritesh, but this was like which year it was in?
This was in 2014.
Okay, okay. And then you began your research after
Then we
that.
started doing research. We actually started talking to a lot of family and friends to understand if they actually have come across something like this, or if they knew, something that we had found in the label section of the cosmetics that we were using on an everyday basis. But there was no awareness. A lot of people didn't know about it or didn't really realize what they were using. Whilst they wanted to use something natural and organic or Ayurvedic in nature, but they wouldn't, have paid attention to the ingredient section of it. That's when we actually took it onto ourselves and said, listen, can we at least try and make something for ourselves, which at least us and our family members can use, so that we are at least clear on what we are using, right? And the whole purpose was that can I, help Megha with, something that you can use on an everyday basis without having to use so many different synthetics or chemical origin ingredients on her skin. I think that was the start of Juicy Chemistry in 2014.
Got it. And how, like, what was the time when you felt that, okay, like, this is something that we have built after research, but this has huge potential to be sold across India and across world? I'm sure you see it that way. So when was that instinct that came to your mind and you started expanding your business?
Look, honestly, we were going through a very tough time, Sonakshi, financially as well. Our business, our petrochemical business, was not doing that well. We had a lot of debt that we had mounted upon. So it took me 2 years to complete everything. And I had made up my mind post my father's demise that we will move away from this business, and we'll start something from scratch, because Mega also realized that I was getting too mentally stressed with whatever was going on. So we wanted to start something fresh. That was very, very clear in our mind, but we also didn't have the capital to be invested. So we started with 5,000 rupees with a 10 by 10 kitchen, which was borrowed from a business that Megha was doing herself. She was a designer, and she had a eye for fashion, and so she was actually running her own label called Megha Asher Designs back then. And we said, let's take out 5,000 rupees. I just want to experiment with formulations, because I love to work with ingredients, and I love to do something in the manufacturing side. I said, let me just try out a few things and see how it goes out. So we started doing small batches, and then we started distributing it to our family and friends. What we actually got back from that feedback was the product is really working and it's great, but maybe it's a little oily. So can you do something about it? Or maybe it doesn't stay for that long. Can you do something about it?
Hmm.
Can you tweak a little bit of the lathering, because I don't feel the lathering part of it coming really well. So we got a lot of feedback,
Yeah.
the initial stages, right? So we tweaked our product, whilst we were obviously very focused on the natural side of things. We didn't understand organic back then. I'll be very honest with you. We didn't understand organic, but we said, okay, let's be in the natural side of things at least. So that was, a fantastic learning curve for us, right? We got a lot of feedback, and one of the best things that happened to us was, obviously, we didn't have money for market research. So, like I said, Mega was actually dealing with a lot of consumers, and the right audience as well, because of a fashion business that she was doing. So whenever people used to come, she used to curate the entire line for them. So they used to come home and they used to try the products. They used to spend about an hour and a half with her to design and try and everything. So
Wow.
that's the time when we used to actually hand over the products to them and ask for a feedback. The next time when they came, they actually had a feedback for us. So this was a fantastic learning curve for us, and the audience was available for us to do the trials as well. So it
Yeah.
was a win-win situation, and that was our first feedback. And then obviously after a good amount of tweaks and a good amount of trial and errors, I think the seventh or the eighth time when we were trying to formulate, I think we got the gist right. Now we had to find the product market fit. That was,
Right.
whilst we had the confidence that the product was fine and it
Correct.
was marketable, we had to find a product market fit.
Correct.
Again, capital was an issue.
Yeah.
So we actually took 500 rupee, organic markets that used to come in the city and cities, nearby cities, which were about 150, 200 kilometers radius.
Mhm.
Coimbatore, Salem, Erode. We used to do something in Palakkad. We used to do something in Tirupur. So we used to take these 500 rupee stalls that used to come, and we used to stand behind the stalls, and one product at a time, one consumer at a time. We used to explain the benefits of organic, try and make them understand what you get on a commercial shelf versus what you get with an organic or a natural product offering. And they used to try it, they used to buy it, and we used to wait for their feedback, one consumer at a time. And that's when we actually started getting the confidence of
Wow.
understanding that the product actually had hit a market fit. And that's when we started thinking about retailing the product on the retail shelves.
This is so beautiful, Pritesh, because usually founders end up dwelling into stories like, if they don't have capital, they don't have budget to run ads, and hence they cannot scale up the business. So, hearing coming this from a founder, and I'm sure during the journey when you were going to these cities, towns, and then hearing, of course, you heard a lot of yes as well, but I'm sure you must be hearing equivalent no's as well during that journey. So what made you, Pritesh, to stick to the motivation that you guys had, the instinct that you guys had, that this is the product which market needs? So what was that one single motivation that you had in mind?
The one single motivation, if you ask me, was the kind of reviews that we were getting on the product.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was overwhelming for us to, we used to make the product a couple of days earlier, because for us freshness was the key to efficacy as well. That was one of our findings during our research, and that's when we used to make products. We used to fill them, we used to batch them, and we used to go and stand behind the counter. And every time that a product went off the shelf, we had a 4.5 or a 5-star rating, and then we took our reviews very seriously. Even today we do. Every single review which is below a 4-star is a red flag for us, and we immediately look at the situation and say, where can we actually help the consumer? And that's when we actually got the product right. Right. It
Oh,
was important to get the product right, because unless and until the product is good enough for the consumers to actually come and try the product and actually come back with
correct.
a review, or come back for another order, you've not created a product which is good enough for a market fit. So I think reviews was a benchmark that we kept really high with the consumers that we were actually retailing the products to, and we used to actually call them, we used to speak to them on the phone, understand what the issue was, right? And sometimes the products were very different from what you would actually get from the commercial market. For
Understood.
example, body butters, consumers had already made up their mind that it's almost like a lotion type of a product. It's not very heavy. It's very light on application, and just melts into your skin on application. Whereas our body butters were whipped butters and oils, which was very different from what was available in the market. So first time when the consumers actually used it, they said, "Listen, why is it so different?" But then
Yeah.
make them actually understand that we doesn't have water, it does not have any fillers, it does not have any alcohols, it does not have any fragrances which are artificial. People used to understand and say, okay, fine, this is how I have to use the product, right? So the knowledge transfer was equally important for us when we were actually disrupting a category which never existed in India in the first place. So
Absolutely.
understanding the reviews actually kept us on our toes, and also gave us the confidence of going ahead with what we were doing. It sort of gave us the confidence that we were on the right path. The minute we saw that there was a particular direction that we were getting from the consumers, we knew that we had to change something in the organic realm of things, whatever was available to us. So I think listening to your consumers was very important
Obsession. Yeah.
one very important thing that we did earlier on in the journey of Juicy Chemistry.
Absolutely, Pritesh. Amazing to hear this. And from 2014, where you mentioned that you started doing initial research and then landing up to a stage where you felt this is PMF, which year was that in? How much time it took
I think
from?
it took us about a year and a half,
Okay. Oh,
to be honest. Somewhere in mid of 2015 is where we got our footing right.
got
uh, because it was a lot of research, it was understanding, it was trial and errors. Like I said, it was finding that product market fit, it was getting that confidence for us to go into the market with a product that would actually get accepted. So it took us a year and a half to even get our footing right. But we did get our footing right in that sense that then the Amazons of the world actually came in at the right time as well, and we were able to list the products online, and that gave us a phenomenal boost. Because today, when we started off, we were taking one order at a time, right? We were taking orders on either our Facebook Messenger. We were
yeah.
just creating small ads on Facebook, and we were creating a community, and we were actually passing on a lot of knowledge to the consumers. It was not even about selling the product; it was more about knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
One product at a time, one SMS at a time. We used to get from the consumer. We used to send them, a bank account details. They used to verify it with the account, and then we used to ship it out. I think that's a phenomenal journey when we started off. But to get that going, it took us about a year and a half for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So after a year and a half, you guys were super confident of scaling this up as a company. So what were the next step that you guys took? Because until now, it was the founders who were doing the knowledge transfer. So how did you make sure that transition happened smoothly and happened at the right way at scale?
Uh, Sonakshi, I think earlier on, because even we were learning, I think we had to do everything ourselves, because it was important to get down dirty, get your hands into the situation for you to learn and understand, the nuances of the business. But over a period of time, what happened was we obviously grew as an organization. People started joining the organization. Whilst we were doing a lot of knowledge transfer to the consumers as well, we were also doing a lot of knowledge transfer to our immediate next team as well, right? And one thing that every founder will tell you who has reached a certain scale will tell you that you need to empower your team, because you can't do everything yourself. Because if you're doing everything yourself, that means you've really missed somewhere you've missed a point, or you've missed a trick where you've not had the time, or you've not had the opportunity to build your immediate next team. I
Correct.
think at some point in time it was important for us to move away from day-to-day operations of the company, and start empowering our immediate next in line teammates to take on that onus upon to themselves, so that we could do the other things that the business required for it to grow. So that, I think, it took us another couple of years. I would say from 2015 middle, or towards the end 2016 and 17, we started really building our team. The space was getting a huge constraint for us, because we were operating out of a very small location. We had to move to a bigger office. We were about three of us. We became 7, 10, 15. End of 2016, we were about 25 people in the business, and today we had about 75 odd people
Wow.
today. So it's a journey that really brought us so. But it was important for us to empower our employees, to take the right onus upon to themselves and build teams, that could take care of different verticals. I think it's so underrated. I think it's so important to have your team in place that can drive the business that you've built.
Absolutely. Building the right team, having right people beside you is the only mantra to have a successful, scalable business. And, some other founder was mentioning this, and I really, really, related to the fact was, um, startup is like a sports team. It's not like a family, it's more like a sports team where every individual has to perform at 100% of their capacity to deliver the best in class impact into the world. So,
One example that I keep giving my team is, just imagine that you're in an operation theater, right? You have a problem in front of you. You're all surrounded. You're really not going to make enough noise inside, or start having a discussion there, right? You've
hmm,
already pre-planned. You already have an idea of what you're going to do. I keep telling my team members this, right? The minute you extend your arm towards somebody, you know what you want from that team member, right? And having that clarity,
yes.
when you are in a situation, is so important. And that is how teams are built, actually.
Absolutely, Pritesh. And this brings to my next question, which is around, since you have scaled up to, a team of almost 80 people now, how did the capital management look like for Juicy Chemistry? And what's your mantra and thought process behind raising external capital? And when is the right time to raise external capital, or bootstrapping all the way? What are your thoughts around that, Pritesh?
So actually, I think there's a lot being spoken about this, a very sensitive subject
Yes.
for founders. I think, we've celebrated, fundraising in the last 2 years, and it's important to celebrate every milestone. But I think, when you're raising capital, first of all, to have the understanding that, this is a liability, and not an asset that you've, sort of built, is a very important metric that you need to have at the back of your mind when you are actually going out to raise capital, because you're responsible for the investors' money, right? At the hierarchy of things that you want to build for yourself, you actually come at the bottom of everything, right, as founders. And the more money you take externally, the more liabilities that you're taking on, the more responsibilities that you're taking on your shoulders. So only take money once you have very clear ideation of where you want to go with this capital, right, and how you're going to be deploying this capital. I think in the last 2 years we've all understood that being frugal is a phenomenal, um, I think, a thought process that you can have. It's a phenomenal art that you hone within yourself.
Yes.
And sometimes excess capital actually can be damaging as well. Sometimes you feel that you have the capital, so I can do a lot more things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't have capital, which is true to a large extent. Because we only took on capital in 2019, when we thought to ourselves that, listen, we have a great product, we have a fantastic product market fit, We have repeat rates which are upwards of 65%, which is, I
Oh
hear,
my God.
phenomenal in terms of industry standards in a skin and personal care category. So we said to ourselves that, we have consumer love today. What do I need the capital for, right? I need capital because we have a lot of manual processes that we were doing. We wanted to automate that. Yes, we need capital for that. Yes, we've not, invested enough money in terms of marketing. People still don't know about us. I want to build a brand. Yes, we need capital for that. I need to build my team. I need to build my warehousing facility. Yes, I need capital for that. So you need to be very clear in your mind and on your papers, that this is where I'm going to be taking the capital, and going to be deploying it in the first place. Understanding that this is a liability and responsibility that you're taking on for other people's money will actually give you a lot more perspective on why you are actually raising capital, and you're able to bootstrap, right? There is nothing like it. There is nothing like it, because then you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. Even if you make mistakes, these mistakes are yours, and you can, you won't have to feel as much pinch when when other people's money is getting utilized on things that you wanted to do, and might not get the best result out of it. But having said that, capital is for that, right? Sometimes the capital is for you to be able to afford mistakes.
Correct.
And I think we are so grateful to our investors for allowing us to make these mistakes in the last couple of years. And you learn from those mistakes, and you grow as a brand, you grow as individuals, you grow as your thought process evolves. So I think when you're taking capital, just be ready for it, and be ready to accept failures as well. As much as you celebrate taking capital or raising capital, it's also important to raise red flags within
Yes.
your mind, and say, listen, I'm responsible for this, and
Yeah.
celebrate your victories as much as you should celebrate your failures as well.
Absolutely, Pritesh. And Pritesh, what do you think about? And not many D2C brands today have gone global from India, because this is something that has newly started. Now, like now, after I think after the Geo era, or I would say after 2019, is when people started building lots of D2C brands. Every other kid in the house is now dreaming of building their own D2C brands. But what do you think about global expansion? Do you believe Juicy Chemistry has this vision of disrupting the global market as well?
Uh, Sonakshi, absolutely. There is no doubt in our minds that we have a product which is made in India, uh, for the world, and it's an absolute top of the line, very sensibly thought of, very scientifically approached. Uh, One of India's first and only certified organic skin, personal care, and makeup range now, which is certified organic, has a certification from EcoCert France in accordance to Cosmos standards. And I said this in the British Parliament, which was we were invited for getting the top 50 influencers in the skin and personal care business. And I said that at the British Parliament as well, when somebody asked us a question like, why don't you make the product in Britain, because it has a very high snob value. So it was a very difficult position for me to be in, because I was representing India, and the fact that he mentioned to me that, why don't you manufacture in Britain, because made in Britain will have a lot more value. And I said to him, I have a certification which is from a European Union, awarded to me at Juicy Chemistry, which is based out of India. Not just my products, my facility as well is being certified by them. So I'm truly and very well deserved to be called as a brand which is able to cater to the masses, not just in India but also around the world as well. So having manufactured in India today has a lot more value than you actually think about. Uh, the product sensibilities have to match in the markets that you're actually looking to go towards. Organic as a principle for Juicy Chemistry is quite nascent in India, but it's actually existed in the West for the last 2 decades already. People understand the benefits of going organic. People understand the nuances of going organic way earlier than we've adapted it in India. The reason is because there is a strict and a very stringent guidelines to what you can and what you cannot do in your manufacturing processes, right? So right from the soil up, how the soil is cultivated, what were the ingredients used to grow the crop without insecticides, pesticides, fungicides, no GMOs, the way the crop was handled, the way the processes were inculcated in the manufacturing process, all have to be accounted for, all have to be documented for. So there is a clear traceability back to the soil. So I actually know which was the farmer, which parcel of land this crop was produced in, how it was handled by the distributor, how it actually got to me, what processes did I do in my manufacturing facility. The due diligence has actually been done on the behalf of the consumer already, right? So all that the consumer needs to know is look at the EcoCert certified organic logo, and the consumer is being told by this, looking at the logo, that all these processes have already been in place, including traceability, transparency, and trust on the badge. So these are the principles that we abide by. So I think Juicy Chemistry's journey for international expansion actually started way back in 2017. We actually have distributors in France, in Australia, in Sri Lanka, in Indonesia. We also are expanding our portfolio to South Africa and UAE now. We are already present on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, and we are now also penetrating in markets which earlier we never thought we would. We are getting a lot of queries from these places, like for example Nepal. We already have a distributor there, so people understand the product value and what we do as a brand extensively. So I think the product market fit already exists in the West, and I think for us to explore that opportunity is a no-brainer for us.
This is such an amazing story to hear, Pritesh. You being, since you have focused so much on the core side of the product building, which was organic, it made you to be ready, to be prepared for international markets as well, where purity and the organicness of the product matters a lot more than anything else. So Pritesh, tell us more about that, because a lot of D2C founders would love to hear this. How did you find your first distributor in these international, and especially like since you mentioned France, like if we were to take an example of that country, how did you find your first distributor, and how did you make sure that they choose Juicy Chemistry and sell it over there?
Honestly, Sonakshi, we've focused a lot more rather than to find the distributor or the dealers in those countries. What we have done is we focused on content creation and transferring of knowledge through our social channels. Uh, it happens so that through word of mouth, the consumers, not just in India, but the consumers who used to take the products and take it with them to international locations as well, were able to be the brand ambassadors for our product. And it so happened that through our social media channels, they used to reach out to us and say, listen, we love your products, there is such a huge market over here, can we do something together, right? That's how we found our first 10 distributors outside India. We've actually not gone ahead and put queries for distributionship in any of these countries, right? It's happened so that our consumers were able to either share the stories with our consumers, or we're able to have a physical product trials to their friends and families across the world. And some of them wanted to fulfill their entrepreneurial age at that particular point in time, and they knew that the market is there for such products. And we actually encourage them not to get bowed down or get overwhelmed by the kind of quantities that they know they would want to start with. Start small, and that's how we started, right? We started with 5,000 rupees in our pocket. That didn't actually pull us down. In fact, we would tell our distributors, we don't want to burden you with a lot of stock, we don't want to burden you with a lot of inventory. Take it slow, right? We are happy to send you 10 pieces of each. uh, get your footing right, get the understanding of the market, let us understand which products are actually moving in the market and what are getting accepted. Out of 100 products that you will actually showcase to the consumers, there will be 10 products that consumers will like, right? Let's just focus on those 10 products and try to build a business which is sizable, rather than saying, listen, no, I will give you my minimum order quantities are 10,000 pieces per
Yeah.
product. That's when they get bowed down and they say, listen, this is looks like a very risky business for me to sort of indulge in. Let me not do that. So building and growing with your distributors is also something that we need to inculcate as a business. So I think we did that. And I think now South Africa, Nepal, Australia, France are actually doing phenomenally well since
Wow.
when we started off. I think we've seen that journey very closely for them as well. And again, we used to tell them, don't sit and think that you will get business. The exact same thing that we did: go into markets, go into flea markets, go into organic markets, put your stall over there, make the trials and using of trials, the olfactory, the sensory perceptions of the product will give you business, right? So they started off like that. We gave them everything on how to set up the stall, how to make it look organic, what you should be doing when you're speaking to the consumers. Try to make them understand the process which we do for the product to come about, because our processes are extremely unique, right? When we are manufacturing a soap with sugarcane, we actually cold press sugarcane juice, and we use the juice into our soap manufacturing process. The same goes with papaya, the same goes with carrots, the same goes with onions, beetroot. We use fresh organic food to impart efficacy on application in our product. So they get really fascinated by the processes that we do at Juicy Chemistry, and that induces trial. And we are so confident that once the trial has been induced, we have a chance of having a repeat customer more often than not. If I have a 65% repeat rate, I know that my product is good, and that's how we inculcate that trust factor onto the consumers. And touchwood, it's worked really well for us.
This is super, super amazing, Pritesh. And if I were to put it in a couple of sentences, initially to find PMF, it is knowledge transfer to customers one on one. Then it is knowledge transfer to team to scale it up in the particular country. And then third, it is knowledge transfer to distributors while going global. So it's all about transferring what you have learned in your initial 1.5 years. So
Absolutely.
this is super, super amazing, Pritesh, to hear.
Well,
But
thank you so much.
yeah.
It's been a phenomenal learning curve for us, to be honest with you, right? I mean, we've had our share of mistakes, and we continue to make some of them, which obviously we are very cognizant of. It's about learning, it's about growing, it's about evolving as people and as a business. But one thing is for sure, that we keep our consumers at the top of everything that we do here at Juicy Chemistry. I think if you have that mindset, and if you take your consumers seriously, I think you will more often than not take the right decisions, because you are actually solving a problem for them, and not seemingly trying to do something that's not really beneficial for them. So
Yeah.
having that clarity is going to be extremely helpful, not just in the short term, but also in the long term.
Absolutely. This is the most beautiful advice to entrepreneurs, keeping customers on top of everything that you do. So definitely, yes, Pritesh. And one last question from my end, which is, what is that one challenge that keeps you awake, Pritesh? Like even after scaling up Juicy Chemistry so much, having built such a successful brand, but I'm sure you must still be having little bit of challenges that you face on a daily basis. So what's that one thing that keeps you awake at night?
One thing that keeps the midlight lamp burning for both Megha and I, there are many of them, but of late, I think, we've been obviously, dwelling with the challenges of D2C as a platform itself. We see that, like you rightly mentioned sometime back in the conversation, that, there is a lot more of the brands that have come into the market today. Scaling a brand just on a D2C platform has become extremely challenging, because of the costs that are involved today to acquire customers, to keep them engaged, to do the knowledge transfer. And given the limited time of the consumers that they're able to give you to understand your product offering, and that knowledge transfer from about a couple of minutes has come down to 30 seconds, and then 15, and now maybe 5 seconds. So how do you keep yourself relevant in the scheme of things that are conspiring? As it's extremely challenging because the landscape is changing way too fast for the founders to actually understand, comprehend, and pivot, right? I mean, the timing is so short, and
Yeah.
you've already gone on a particular tangent. You already have created nuances for your business that are in a certain direction, and to come back and then pivot and keep these nuances of the market in relevancy and then move ahead as a business is actually a challenge that keeps us awake at night. And both Megha and I are honestly in the last 1.5 years not slept so much, if I may say that way. It's keeping us on our toes and trying to navigate this extremely fast changing pace of D2C as a channel has really been a challenging situation for us, to say the least. But we are pivoting. We are also understanding the nuances of the business at a very nitty gritty level. In fact, we've now also after venturing into makeup as a line. We are now also available in so many offline stores as well that we were never looking at as a business about a year and a half back. Today, our aim is to get to about 2,000 touch points, have at least 50 brand outlets, Juicy Chemistry brand outlets across India, and also be available in about 2,000 touch points across India in the next 4 to 5 quarters. I think we have our vision set extremely clearly, and I think with the hard work that we've done so far, and the industry knowledge that we've gathered, I think we are right on time and the right path to achieve what we've wanted to achieve. But pivoting for founders is the most difficult
Yeah.
task.
Yeah. And it is, something that no founder can get out of. Every founder has to go to multiple pivots throughout their journey. If you even see today, Google, like who knew, Google will start getting existential crisis, with Microsoft coming up with OpenAI. So it's part and parcel of every startup, even if it's an 80-year-old startup.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and you need to be aware of it. I think of being aware of this, and having a foresight really helps. But it's not that easy. It's easier said than done, honestly. But when you are looking at the business in at a very nitty gritty level, you understand that you are actually missing out an opportunity, and it's important to acknowledge that first, because sometimes as founders, we have a bubble in our mind, and we said we're just going to focus on that without having to look left or right.
Yeah.
But sometimes having a vision of that left and right also gives you a lot more perspective, and gives you a foresight on what needs to be done directionally for the business. Once
Absolutely.
you learn that, the execution is something that you need to just follow up on.
Absolutely, Pritesh. Such a wonderful way of even conveying your challenges. This is something that I'm sure 99% of the founders that will hear this podcast is going to relate to. So thank you so much for sharing this, Pritesh.
Pleasure.
Before we log out, Pritesh, one last advice to young entrepreneurs while they are starting their journey. What is that one thing that they should keep in mind?
Uh, I particularly, uh, don't really like this question very from a very perspective that there is nothing that sort of fires down to one thing. I
Yeah,
think it's a series of things that you do
yeah,
or you don't do that help in getting clarity on what you want to do. So I think it's not just one thing, but generally speaking, it's important to understand what you're going after. Clearly define that in your mind before you move on to other things. Very clearly define what you that's that one thing that you're looking to achieve, right? uh, for us, we realized that whilst the product is organic, and we are we are doing face, we are doing skin, we are doing body, we are doing hair. What is it that one thing that we are offering our consumers, right? We are in actually deep dived into our business model, and we said, listen, whilst we are a product company, we are actually in the product of we're in the business of wellness, right? We are actually imparting wellness through our products, right? So that was a very clear vision that we had, and that's why we were able to pivot into a lot of things, and also introduce a lot of products into our line. So it's very clear in our minds that we will do everything in the realm of wellness as a category, right? It could be through skin, it could be through for hair, it could be through for makeup, it could be through wellness products as well that we have. So understanding that very core product offering, or a service offering, is going to be extremely important for any founder to then build on that narrative, right? What you build on is extremely important, and the narrative should be so clear in your mind.
Yes.
If it's not clear in your mind, you will never be able to convince your consumers or your investors as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
So get that narrative right, build on that narrative, and don't go too wide, right? Otherwise, it's you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this also, maybe I'll do that as well. That sort of confuses the consumer, and it confuses the potential investors.
Yeah.
You can always build on it at a later stage, but having that first product market fit extremely clear in your mind, I think is a good start to start from.
Absolutely. Point noted, Pritesh. Thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful chatting and really, really inspiring story that you shared, Pritesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonakshi. Happy to share 2 cents of what I've learned, and hope the audience here will resonate with some of the things that we just discussed today. And wishing you all the best for all the future podcasts that you will be doing. And
Yeah. I'll quickly stop the recording and we can have a chat, Pritesh.
yeah.